I don't know about you, but something strange is happening to me these days. And what's more, this same phenomenon is occurring among many of my friends, particularly those who are around my own age. The death of Queen Elizabeth is moving me much more deeply than it naturally should. I'm actually mourning and feeling a great and genuine sense of loss. Lately, it has dawned on me that I'm not only mourning the loss of a great national icon, or even a woman of deep faith and generous service whom I've always respected and admired. I'm not only mourning the loss of a woman whose face has surrounded me on stamps and banknotes all throughout my entire life. I'm not only mourning the woman whom the psychologists tell us is the one person who turns up in the dreams of all the people living in the United Kingdom more than any other person. I'm not only mourning the woman whose image and character are perhaps more deeply embedded in our shared national psyche than those of any other person, including the families and friends whom we know so much more personally and intimately. Mourning a woman of such incredible impact and consequence is in itself naturally a momentous and deeply moving experience. However, there's something more going on here, and something even deeper and much more intimate. This is actual grieving, not merely symbolic grieving for the grandest symbol of them all. The feelings that I'm feeling right now are much more real and much more visceral than that. And what's more, it's not simply the grand mourning by proxy that came with the sudden shock of the death of Princess Diana, when all of us felt that we had actually known this woman through her personal revelations to the media and through their documenting of her every single moment and drama. My current sense of loss is still more, even than that. That first fully shared and fully expressed trauma that changed this country's notion of itself forever. It has finally dawned on me. In this case, and during these particular days, I'm not only mourning for Queen Elizabeth, I am in fact mourning all over again the death of my own beloved mother, who was so like her in so many ways. And I am not alone in this. Many of my friends have told me that they too find themselves taken back to the very same place by all of this national and global mourning in honour of the woman who was perhaps the greatest matriarch that the world has ever known. They too are thinking again of their own dear mothers, who, if they're around my age, shared so much with Elizabeth. Our mothers were of her generation. They dressed like her, they looked like her, they lived through the same history as she did. They liked the same music and they appreciated the same values. They, just like Elizabeth, were people of deep faith and duty. The values that we're singing to high heaven in the case of this one noble lady were the everyday values of our own mothers, who may not have served a great nation as she did, but who served us and our families in the very same gracious style and with the same lack of fuss or exhibition. They were deep and private in their affections as Elizabeth was. They did not gush or display their love as we're now taught to do. They did not say, "Love you," at the end of every telephone call, or hug us half to death every time we arrived or departed. And yet, just as with the bond between Elizabeth and her people, their love was the one we trusted the most and never had cause to doubt. Their love was the deepest love of all. Similarly, their faith and their incredible sense of duty to us and to their families and neighbours and friends were entirely taken for granted, but were equally noble and true and strong. That is the way they were, and that is the way they lived. In fact, it dawns on me that this great litany of praise we are currently singing for the late and much beloved Elizabeth II is in fact not so much for her alone, but for all the people of her generation, a generation who were so much better, so much more loyal, so much more decent, so much less obsessed with material or trivial things than we are. We are mourning for our own mothers today, and for the great goodness and the tremendous sacrifice that they gave us, without even thinking that they were doing something special. In fact, like Elizabeth, they were all the time doing the most special thing there is to do and giving us the greatest gift, a lifelong lesson in genuine love and respect and deepest service. There were many Queen Elizabeths, and thankfully I can say that my own lovely mother was one of them, and maybe yours was too.